In this film, Kâtip Çelebi is at your age. Do you want to be friends with him? Friends, this is Kâtip Çelebi. I am an Ottoman scholar who has written works on many subjects, especially history and geography. Would you like to know me better? I was born in 1609 in Istanbul. My real name is Mustafa bin Abdullah. I was known as Kâtip Çelebi because I was an army clerk. My father was a soldier who was educated in an institution where Ottoman statesmen were trained. At the age of 6, I learned to read the Quran from someone assigned by my father. I have memorized most of the Quran. Then I took grammar and writing lessons. When I was 14, my father took me to work and put me on a salary. So I learned accounting and calculation. Later on, I joined some battles on my father's side. I saw all the troubles and hardships of war. After 10 years in various wars, I returned to Istanbul. I took lessons from the important teachers of the period and gave all my time to science. On one hand, I was learning myself. On the other hand, I was teaching my students. The real battle for me had just begun. I thought the battle against ignorance was more important than the battle on the field. My first work in history is Arabic Fezleke. I started this book by explaining the meaning, subject and benefits of history. Then I listed the states established throughout history and the important events that took place. On the other hand, Turkish Fezleke, which can be considered a continuation of my book, is an Ottoman history describing the events between the years 1591 and 1645. I also briefly included the life stories of statesmen and scholars in this book. During the years I participated in wars, I witnessed soldiers make some mistakes. This was because the soldiers did not know history and geography. That's why I thought it was necessary for soldiers and government officials to study history and geography. I studied the history of Ottoman maritime in one of my books. I explained how the Ottoman navy and shipyard worked. At the end of this book, I made suggestions to overcome the failures in maritime. I participated in Girit expedition in 1645. In this way, I had the opportunity to examine how maps were made. I often got sick. I started reading medical books to find solutions to my diseases. I was extremely fond of books. Everywhere I went, I would visit second-hand booksellers and invest all my money in books. I inherited a large inheritance from a wealthy relative. I bought books with half of this inheritance. I had my house repaired with the other half. I got married soon after. I used to go through too many books to describe an event. For example, while writing one of my works, I reviewed 1,300 books. While working, I would forget everything and never take my eyes off the book until the sun came up. In my studies of history, I have advocated neutrality by setting emotions aside. I was the first person to refer to Western sources in the Ottoman Empire. I translated some Latin books into our language. I tried not to stay within the limits of the scientific understanding of the period in which I lived. I followed the scientific studies on astronomy in the West. I looked for evidence that the Earth is round. At that time, the Earth had not been proven to be round. My works were met with great interest both in the Ottoman Empire and in the West. Some of my works have been an important source of reference for Western Islamic researchers. My work titled Cehenneme is considered one of the most important works of Ottoman geography. This work changed the Ottomans' view of the world. During my lifetime, I was also interested in the problems that troubled the Ottoman state and social order. I tried to find solutions to these problems. I aimed for each article I wrote to be a solution to a problem. Dear children, I hope my life story has piqued your interest. All my life, I believed in the importance of science. I researched it down to the smallest detail in order to gain knowledge on a subject. You can do also research on topics that are of interest to you. Thus, you can be useful to humanity by solving some problems.